Hello everyone! Well, it is all about that fall season. I'm going to share with you how to make this pumpkin coffee cake with streusel topping. It is easy to make and I'm going to share with you how to do it. So we're going to be using Bisquick as our base. So I'm using Bisquick as my base, which means that we don't need baking powder or baking soda. This is 1.5 cups of Bisquick that I just put in. So that was a 1.5 cup of measuring cup. Now with the Bisquick, a little tip with that is that what I found with Bisquick is that it's definitely you want to spoon it into your measuring cup. If not, you'll end up with too much, and that's happened to me before. And so definitely want to spoon that in to your measuring cup when you're measuring out the Bisquick. Now I'm going to put in my pumpkin pie spice, and this is 2 teaspoons of pumpkin pie spice. This is actually homemade pumpkin pie spice that I made, and in the description box I'll share with you my recipe that I use for my homemade pumpkin pie spice. So I have the 1.5 cups of Bisquick in my bowl and the 2 teaspoons of pumpkin pie spice. I use my wire whisk to whisk everything together, and you can also use a fork to do that step. Next, in my large bowl, I'm going to add in the rest of our ingredients. So this is a 1/2 cup of sugar, and then to the sugar, I'm adding in 2 large eggs. Now the eggs I have are at room temperature. Room temperature eggs always blend so much better into your batters and into your mixes versus the cold eggs coming right out of the fridge. And for me, I like to put them in a separate container or bowl when I'm doing that. So that way, in case I get a shell, I'm not chasing it around into my bowl. Now to that, I also added in some milk. That's 1/4 cup of milk. I'm using 2%, but you can also use whole milk. And so I put in the 1/4 cup of the milk. Now my milk is not ice cold either. I had it sitting on my countertop for about maybe 20-30 minutes to kind of knock the chill off. Next, I put in some vegetable oil, and this is 2 tablespoons of vegetable oil. Now in the description box below, I will have a list of all the ingredients you need to make this pumpkin streusel coffee cake. So that way you have a list to refer back to when you're making this at home. And now I'm going to put in my pumpkin puree. So this is pumpkin puree, not pumpkin pie fillings. This is pumpkin puree. And this is a 1/2 cup. Now I opened up one regular 15-ounce can. Now I'm using a 1/2 cup. Now this recipe is for a 9-inch square pan. You can also use a round pan, but this is for a 9-inch pan. Now you can use, because we're only using a 1/2 cup, which is not all of the pumpkin puree. So you can make this recipe and double it. You can double it and make it in a 9x13 casserole dish and just double up the recipe. Okay. Another way that you can make it is that you can make 2. So we're going to make one 9-inch, but you can make a second 9-inch. Keep one for yourself and give one as a gift to friends, family, neighbors, co-workers. That is really nice. So with the one can, when we open it, you can definitely go ahead and use the full can by making 2 or either doubling the recipe and making one bigger pan. So once I have the ingredients in, you see how I whisked it really well, got it nice and frothy. Make sure that that sugar is dissolved well and the eggs are nice and well beaten. Now I'm going to add the dry ingredients that we had mixed earlier to the wet ingredients, and I like to add the dry to the wet because this is going to cut down on any lumps that we're going to have. It's important that you want to blend this together, get everything nice and moist, but you don't want to over mix it because it will toughen up the coffee cake. And so just be really gentle. I'm using my spatula here. You can use a spatula or a wooden spoon or even a large, steel spoon is fine. And go around the edge of the bowl and just kind of mix, blend, and just fold it together. And you're going to fold and mix and blend until it all comes together and you don't have any of the dry Bisquick at all. You'll have some big lumps, but those will start to dissolve. And then once they dissolve, this is what your batter is going to look like. You see how it's smoothed out? That's what you want it to look like. So this is my 9-inch pan that I've gone on and I've sprayed with some non-stick spray. If you don't have any nonstick spray on hand, you can either butter your dish with some soft butter. That will work just as well. So we're going to go ahead and pour all of our batter into our 9-inch prepared baking dish. And I also, while I'm doing this, I went on and I turned on my oven before I started this step. So I went on and I turned on my oven, and my oven is preheating on 350 degrees. And so my oven is preheating, and so we're going to finish up our streusel topping. So next, once I have everything all nice and evened out, I'm going to set this aside and we're going to make our streusel topping. So for our streusel topping for our coffee cake, I'm going to be using some more Bisquick. This is 1 cup of Bisquick, and remember to scoop that into that measuring cup. Next, I'm going to use some light brown sugar. This is a 1/2 cup of light brown sugar, and I also have some whole oats. So this is some whole oats, and that was 1 cup of whole oats, okay, whole oatmeal. And so once I have those 3 ingredients, I use my fork to kind of break up the light brown sugar. And next, to help make our wonderful topping, we're going to be using some butter. Now this is cold butter that I'm using, and it's salted butter. The reason why I'm using salted butter is because this recipe doesn't call for any salt, and I found that the salted butter actually really works the best with this coffee cake. And we're going to be using 1 stick, which is the equivalent of 8 tablespoons, which is also the equivalent of 1/2 cup. So the 1 stick is those different measurements. So you want 1 stick of the salted butter. Now if you don't have any salted butter on hand, you only have unsalted, go ahead, use the unsalted butter, but add in a pinch of table salt. Okay, just add in a pinch of table salt if you only have unsalted. Now once I went on and I made like pads of butter into my mix, I'm going to use my fork, or if you have a pastry cutter, you can use that as well. And you're going to press that butter. This is cold butter. You want to press it and start to make nice crumbly pieces. You're going to do this until there is no more dry oats or Bisquick. You want it to look moist, almost like wet sand. And you're going to have some big pieces and small pieces, but you want to definitely press and blend and go around the bowl, pressing that cold butter into the dry ingredients of the light brown sugar, the whole oats, and the Bisquick. And this is what it's going to look like. Okay, see how it looks just like this? This is what you want, and you're going to have all those pieces. Now that I have my streusel topping together, it's time for me to sprinkle it on top of my cake batter, on top of my coffee cake batter. And I like to use my measuring cup so that way I can evenly put it on. You want to make sure that you go corner to corner. You want to totally cover your cake because you don't want any of the pumpkin cake showing, because you don't want it to come through when it's baking up. So you want the streusel to stay on top to bake up nice and evenly. And so go corner to corner, making sure all over that you put the entire amount of our streusel topping right on top of our coffee cake batter. And so once it's on top of the coffee cake batter, I just kind of even it out, just a little bit, making sure I don't have too much on one side versus another side. And if I happen to see any of the big lumps, if I have any big lumps like this piece here, I just kind of break those big lumps down just like that. Our coffee cake is going into our 350 degree oven, and it's going to bake for 30 to 35 minutes until your tester comes out clean when inserted in the middle. So our coffee cake is out of the oven. It has also gotten a slight golden brown on top, and that's also what you're looking for. And when I used my cake tester in the middle and around the sides, it was perfect. It was no pieces of batter on my cake tester. And the aroma coming from this coffee cake is amazing, y'all. So I have a plate that I've got for us. I also have my cute little cup. Look at this. My husband got this for me, and I just love it. It is my new favorite coffee cup. And so I wanted to share that with y'all. So anyway, I've got my coffee here in my cup to go with my coffee cake. I'm going to cut us a piece and give y'all the first bite. Now, if you were going to make a second one of these, you're making 2 of these, and that second one you were going to gift out to somebody, what you would want to do is you could either get a disposable foil 9-inch square pan to bake it like that, or either line your 9-inch pan with parchment paper. Make sure your parchment paper is coming all the way up the sides. Bake your coffee cake like that, so that way once it's done, you can lift it out of your dish and you'd be able to wrap it in plastic wrap or in foil or something decorative that you would like to give out as a gift. So I have my coffee ready. I have our piece that I have cut. It is looking good. It is smelling good. And it cuts so nicely. This bite is for you. Go ahead and take your bite. Now I'm going to take my bite. Y'all, this is fall. This is like Thanksgiving and Christmas all wrapped into one. And once you have this, you try this coffee cake, definitely you would want to see someone to give this to as a gift. Well, I'm going to also share with you a visual of all the ingredients that I use, so you can also have that as your visual reference. And to store this can stay on your countertop for about 3 to 4 days at room temperature, just covered in foil. Very loosely covered in foil is fine. And if you're wrapping it for that gift, make sure that you go ahead and let your coffee cake cool. Well, these are the ingredients that I use: the butter, the eggs, the light brown sugar, the cup plus the 1.5 cups of Bisquick, the 1/2 cup of sugar, my pumpkin pie spice that I made, my oats, the milk, the pumpkin puree, and vegetable oil. Well, that is it for me today. Thank you for spending time with me in my kitchen. If you're not subscribed, please hit that subscribe button. And if you like this video, don't forget to show it some love and give it a thumbs up and click share. Share this video with a friend or family. And don't forget to click that notification bell so you can come back and visit me again in my kitchen and you never miss out on one of my recipe shares. And remember, it's always good when Dyvonne is cooking for the family. I'll see you on the next one. Bye-bye, everybody.